World of Warships has launched another trade-in event for the next 2 weeks or so, and the offerings are, for the most part, not great, but there are two standout choices. The Minegumo, Tier 9 Japanese destroyer with two types of torpedoes available to it. That was on sale recently, but if you didn't pick that up, you can trade in for it. And the Karl Johan the 14th, a Swedish battleship. And this is the closest thing World of Warships has seen to a torpedo-focused battleship. There's a lot of brawlers in this game that have good close-range torpedoes for, duking it out. But I mean, real torpedoes, like the kind that destroyers get. It's basically if you took the European destroyer line and turned one of them into a battleship. So I actually already had this ship from Santa Crates this past December, but for most people, the trade-in event is the first real opportunity that anyone's had to get their hands on this ship. So it's been very popular the last few days. You can see that the enemy team has a Karl Johan as well as me playing one. And honestly, I didn't get the hype at first. It's a pretty ship. I like the forest camo. The turret layout is kind of cool. The two back turrets spaced out like they are. And the gimmick is neat, but I had a pretty underwhelming time with this ship back when I got it in December. But now that everyone's been hyped about it, and that's clearly been the favorite in the trade-in event, I wanted to get to the bottom of it. I wanted to figure out how to really maximize the playstyle on this thing. Well, a commenter on one of my more recent videos mentioned that you gotta take this into ranked. This season, it's got to be silver ranked because that's the only league right now that contains tier 9 ships, and this is a tier 9 ship. So luckily I am in silver league right now, so I thought, all right, you know what, I will give that a try. Let's take Karl Johan into ranked. The thing is that it has okay secondary performance. You can get a decent range on it. I have it fully spec'd for secondaries right now, and I believe I'm running the signal as well, so that is an upper limit of 10.5 kilometer secondary distance. But secondaries are not really the focal point on this ship. They can set fires decently, but if I'm not mistaken, they're pretty low caliber. And at the same time, you don't want to kneecap your fire chance with IFHE. It's not really worthwhile on this ship. So it's not usually advised to build for secondaries. You're either going to try to maximize your survivability, or you're going to try to maximize your torps. And those aren't completely mutually exclusive. I mean, you might... I'm sure there's quite a few ways to viably build this ship. But the torpedoes and the detection range are the two big standout features of this ship. There are two quadruple racks of torpedoes on each side on the back end, and they can go 13.5 kilometers, and they also have the funny European tight cones. So by the time they've made it 13.5 kilometers, they're still in a pretty tight spread. Pretty hard to dodge those if your aim is on point. And when you combine that with the very good base concealment, and I'm not running full concealment here, you can get the concealment down to under 11 kilometers. I'm running the upgrade but not the commander skill, so that gets me to 11.7 kilometers. But no matter how you slice it, you can stealth torp in this thing. And that's pretty funny. That's a very funny idea for a battleship. But since I am in ranked, I decided to build it fully for secondaries because, that tends to be a good idea in ranked. Ranked is a lot more favorable towards brawling kinds of ships. Is this ship a better brawler than German ships? I honestly don't know. I'm not experienced enough with German battleships in ranked. I mean, I have Pommern. That's a great ship. This is probably a lot better than Frederick the Great. But that's a pretty low bar. But I decided to push in here into the A cap. Luckily, our friend was able to take out their Karl Johan, so we didn't have that to worry about. And Minagumo having fired off all of her torpedoes. I should say launched. There's not a firing mechanism for torpedoes. Anyway, having loosed all of those, I knew I would be relatively safe to push forward. And we're already harassing the Alaska there and sending her away with our secondaries and with our main battery in concert. The main battery is 305mm guns, nothing to write home about, but you get 12 of them, so they're good for fire starting, and, you know, make no mistake, they can pen broadsides and hit citadels quite well when given the opportunity. But this is where I really started to feel the power of this battleship, right here, right now. We're sitting at about 40,000 damage. Nothing crazy so far, although I was able to go in and kill the Minagumo, so that's nice. But now I am perfectly faced against two battleships that are moving very slowly and sluggishly, and they're not really sure about their positioning. This is what the torpedoes were made for. Now you're gonna see here, that wasn't a great salvo on my part. Mostly non-pens, one pen, one over pen. So that's the danger on this thing, and I don't really recommend running gun feeder. I mean, I guess you can. I'm not running gun feeder right now, but the unfortunate consequence is that the AP can be a little finicky. Definitely have to aim for superstructures a lot. Or just chance it, which I did again. There we got 5 ricochets, but 4 overpens. That was a very weird salvo. But, you know, we do our best. It's honestly not a bad idea to just run HE a lot of the time. But I figured, you know, I have my secondaries, so I might as well just go for those superstructure punctures. I honestly had an extremely hard time picking out a decent armament throughout pretty much this entire match. But even if I had chosen a little better, I think the lesson is that the main battery on Karl Johan is very anemic. Even when you are making good choices and shooting into good spots, I find it to be very anemic. On the other hand, our torpedoes that we launched earlier and our secondaries lighting up the Schroeder right now are doing some real work. Do you remember how long ago it was that I said I had 40,000 damage? And now we're up to 124,000 and counting. But the awkward thing, the funny thing, is that I'm struggling with this Schroeder. I mean, I let him get a heel off, and, you know, I'm trying everything. I'm trying to AP into the superstructure, you know, now and then I'm alternating with HE, but, you know, it seems like no matter what I do, it's not really the main battery that's getting the job done, but those sets of torpedoes I was able to fire into Izumo and Iwami, that's the bread and butter on this thing. This really is a torpedo-focused battleship, and that is hilarious. I mean, I dig that. I dig that so much. Obviously, we're going to be able to finish off this Izumo before the next torpedoes land, but it's worth pointing out that I've already hit 8 torpedoes in this match, and I am running the legendary European commander Jerry Świerski. I'm not sure on the pronunciation there, but one of his special talents is when you land 8 torpedo hits, or I think it's every 8 torpedo hits, it reduces the reload time on your torpedoes. That's obviously a very destroyer-centric skill. It's just so funny that when they finally added a Swedish battleship, it is actually really useful for that as well. So finally, it's just down to me and the Alaska, and I have a nearly full health Iowa to back me up, so I am feeling very confident at this point. I'm just going to charge in. This is, by all accounts, a battlecruiser, I'm pretty sure. I have not checked the armor scheme on this thing, but I get the impression that the armor is not extremely strong. So here I'm not doing anything stupid. I don't need to land any more torpedoes. I just need to get in close. I need to close that gap and stay relatively bow in. It's a pretty straightforward conclusion from here. But this was my first and so far only ranked match in Karl Johan, at least this season. If I played any matches between now and December, I don't remember, but it would have been in a previous season. I'm not sure that I did, though. This is the first time I remember taking Karl Johan into ranked, just because somebody suggested that I do so. And now I understand. Now I can see the raw ultimate power for what it is, and I think this is a pretty fun ship. I wouldn't have been disappointed to pick this ship up even just for collection's sake, even if it was mediocre. Nice secondary kill there. I didn't notice that. I thought that was main battery. But it turns out that it's actually pretty fun anyway. I mean, look at that. With blue credit boosters, 1.7 million credits. Usually a good match is around 1 million on blue boosters, and a great match is like up to 1.5 million. That was outstanding. 222,000 damage. 2 close quarters experts. Gotta love to see the Dreadnought and the high caliber as well. And yeah, no surprise there. Oh, that's very strange. The replay viewer appears to have another bug that I've never noticed before. It should have all stars on this side and minus a star except for the top here. But it's kind of, the logic was backwards here on the replay viewer. Very interesting. Anyway, let's see the damage. Yeah, so out of the 222,000, almost 223,000 damage, a good chunk of it was from the main battery, 70k, but almost as much via torpedoes, via 8 torpedoes. And also, that secondary battery, actually that did a lot more work than I thought. Once again, I am not sure on the caliber on the secondaries, but I'm under the impression that you're not really relying on secondary damage as much as you are fires. But look at that, the raw secondary damage actually outpaced fires, and it almost outpaced fires and floodings combined on this particular match. That may just be an artifact of, we're playing ranked and everyone's in a tight space, blah, 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 blah. But I don't think you can go wrong building this for secondaries. It's just you have to keep in mind that it's not going to be as effective in randoms as it is in ranked or in brawl when you're able to take battleships tier 9 into brawls. But anyway, I sure had a fun time with this, and if you have been on the fence, this is your official reminder to take advantage of the trade-in event. If you have a ship that you don't really care for, and maybe a couple of doubloons to spare to make up the difference, you could have this ship in your port right now, and it's a pretty fun time, and it's also very unique. That being said, I don't recommend buying into FOMO if that's stressful for you. I'm sure this ship will be made available some other way in the future. We can't know that for sure, but it's pretty certain. So, do what sounds good to you, but I'm glad to have this ship. I'm glad I had this replay that I could share with you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.